Welcome to, sorry, I gotta catch my breath. Welcome with Jesus Bible study. We're going to be in the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 29. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. And I'm going to repeat that. Mind you, this is Jesus talking to the Pharisees. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. This is the Pharisees trying to accuse Jesus of using the devil to cast out demons. And he's explained to him that you cannot, a house divided will fall. And if he was Satan casting out demons, it would serve no purpose. But I would like to use this verse to show y'all that as Christians, as Christ followers, when we're on these internets and we're debating and arguing with other fellow Christians and finger pointing and being like Christian Nazis and acting like the Pharisees, we are showing a house divided. And so those that are new coming to Christ, we are pushing many people away. They see the arguments and they don't understand how can so many people be against each other, be of Christ, and be a Christian. How can we be divided in our teachings and stuff? We got to be careful to who we're pushing away. Because in another verse it says that when we push little children away, and everybody who comes to Christ, we call them babies. Baby Christians, because they're new. So we are pushing many people away from being Christian who wants nothing to do with Christ because of the argument. And here's the thing, I know that we're supposed to correct, but God says that in all things that you do, you're supposed to do it in love. And there's no love in this correction. There's no love in these convictions. And a lot of people are not convicting or correcting, they're judging. And there's a major difference here. Because we're not supposed to judge, but we're supposed to judge righteously. And when you go to convict and correct somebody, you're supposed to know them on a personal level in order to correct them. And you're supposed to be without that sin before you can do that. That is the whole purpose of the verse of you must first get the log out of your eye before you point out the log in somebody else's. If you want to convict somebody of pornography, you better not be watching porn yourself. You better not have ever done it and not be doing it. You must be like totally cured of it or whatever. Same thing with other things. I'm just using an example because I know a lot of people on there who are still struggling and dealing with that, and yet telling other people that they can't do it, but then they turn around and do the same thing. How does that make sense? Here's another thing. God will correct and clean up that person when they come to Christ. There's too many of you out there saying, oh, now that you are a Christian, you can't do this, you can't dress like that. God will convict them. You're not God. Stop doing God's job. Our job is to plant the seed and walk away. God does the rest. How many of you, if you was new to Christ, and the people that you see saying these things, said this today, said those things to you, would walk away because of all the finger pointing and you can't do this, you can't do that, and shame you and say, God doesn't want you to do that. God's not going to love you. God's not going to hear you because you're dressing this way. And God's not going to pay attention to this because you look that way and you talk that way and you go here and you do that. And you can't eat that food. Some of you don't even know what the verses mean that you're saying. Like telling women that they can't preach. It does not nowhere say that in the Bible. Y'all repeating what other people are teaching. And God never asked you to do that. You're doing that out of flesh. And here's a major thing, and please pay attention. Just because you are filled with the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that everything, every thought, and every word that comes out of your mouth is the Holy Spirit speaking. I'm dead serious. Just because you have the Holy Spirit in you does not mean that the things that you say, and because you prayed and you automatically thought you got an answer back, that it was the Holy Spirit confirming. You need to wake up and pay attention.